Hello, welcome to April's Library. This is a new series that I've been wanting to do where I can kind of sit down and discuss the books I've read each month, talk about the ones I liked, talk about if I didn't finish reading any books, like just kind of sit and talk, which you guys know I love to do. For me, reading is such a big part of my identity. It's one of those hobbies that I have consistently. Is it a hobby? I don't know, but it's something that I've had consistently and loved doing consistently for so many years now. Like my reading habits definitely go up and down in waves. Like some years I read like 2 books. Some years like last year I read more. I can't remember how many I read. I've definitely picked up speed on like the books I'm reading again. I think since starting the job that I'm currently at, I get public transport to and from work now, which means that I have almost 2 hours a day where I'm just like sitting on a bus, can't really do that much. And so for me, instead of sitting and scrolling on my phone, I wanted it to be a bit more like productive. And so now I read on the bus, and so I power through books, but I still feel like I'm in such a good place where it's like I'm not racing through a book to race through a book. It's just I am enjoying it and I'm remembering what I read, and I'm really wanting to like discuss with people the things that I've been reading. And I felt like I had no one to talk to. I mean, obviously I have friends, like I have people I can talk to, but if I'm coming at people 6-7 times a month being like, let me tell you about this new book, like it can get a bit overwhelming. And then I thought, seeing as I've set up this channel as a space for me to do anything I want and to talk about anything I want, because it's for me, I was like, why not create a monthly library where I can sit down and talk about the books that I read each month, talk about the ones I didn't like, I'm gonna sneeze, and just really create a place where I can just talk and discuss the things that I read in books and things that really like stuck with me. And so that's what this is. I know book clubs exist, but I don't know if it's how my brain works, but I don't do well being told what to read. I'm very much like intuition led when it comes to reading. I don't know if that's the right word, but obviously I have a huge collection of books and I have not read all of them. I've read the majority, but not all of them. And so for me, when I'm trying to figure out what to read next, I let my like intuition lead me to what it is. If I'm in a bookstore, like I'll know when I want to buy a book because it feels right. And so it's the same with reading. Like I'll know what I want to read because it feels right. Like I tried to read Sweet Bean Paste at the end of 2024 and could not get into it, and then read it this month, and like it's one of the most incredible books I've ever read. So that's why I don't join a book club. Just in case you're wondering. I hope you're excited. If you love to read, if you love to just like listen to people talk about books, this is the place for you. So these are the books I read in the month of April. Honestly, like what a fun collection. And so let's kind of like delve in to each book. Yeah. I have no idea how I want to lay this out either. It's the first episode, so we'll see how we go. The first book I read this month was I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This basically follows an unnamed protagonist who has been locked in a cage for they don't know how many years, but with 39 other women. She was locked in there since she was like an adolescent, so like very young, whereas all the other women were, I can't remember for certain, but at least like over the age of 20 when they were locked in. It's a very interesting book because it's being written by the protagonist at the end of her life, and she is looking back on it and then telling us everything that happens. So it's honestly just amazing. It's so absurd, but also such, like in my opinion, like such a telling story on life, and not super, like I saw the title and I was like, we're about to get into like, feminism and like why we don't need men. It's not at all. But it is overarchingly, in my opinion, a conversation about life. I'm not really the type to like finish a book and then look up stuff about the book, but it's a very fascinating book because it genuinely is like, what the hell is happening? And then you never really get an explanation for like half the shit that's happening, but like that's okay. You kind of get to make your own decisions. It's so good. It's so good. And I think a lot of the information that I was reading after I read the book, people had obviously like obviously the beautiful thing with literature and novels, poems, everything is that once it's published, as a reader, it becomes your own. Do you know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of things, and it's actually in the book I finished reading yesterday. There's this conversation of like, when a work is published, it stops being the writer's, and even before then, when like a manuscript is finished, it stops being the writer's and it starts being it starts belonging to the writer, the people working on the manuscript, the publisher, like all of that. And then once it gets published, it starts belonging to the readers as well. So it's like, once your book is published, it's never yours anymore. It's everyone's. And I think when you read something, everyone has a different interpretation. Everyone has a different way that a book has impacted them, or a different way a book makes you feel. Like, I read a book that I love, like I've read it twice this year, like I love it so much. And when I see other people's reviews on like the apps I use being like, oh, I hate this book, it's like, how? But then also everyone is entitled to a different interpretation. And so with this book, because I was kind of looking up what people thought of it, what people, like if there were any details that maybe I missed, because I was like it ends and you're like, what the hell? And it was so interesting because so many people had a very different interpretation to the one I had. When reading this book, I feel like it's just such a beautiful depiction of life in a different way, where it's like life is made meaningful by these little moments of significance. I'm going to do like a little spoiler warning here, and I'll put the time code that the spoilers are over. But for me, like, seeing these moments of like the joy they have when they escape the cage, the joy they have like building and creating their own society, the excitement the protagonist has when she discovers like the underground bunker, all of these little moments, to me, like it seems like it's like making everything worth it for her. Like her life is well lived because of these moments of joy. And isn't that just life in general? I think looking at this through a lens of like, life is what you make it, kind of, I think, like, yeah, I think it's like you can never know the answers to everything. Like, people always go around in the real world and they're like, what is the meaning of life? Like, what is this? What is that? It's like, you can never know. And with this, it's like, why are we here? Why are we here? They'll never know. Like, they never found out, but it doesn't mean that their life was meaningless. And if we never know what the meaning of life is, it doesn't mean our lives are meaningless. Do you get what I'm saying? I get what I'm saying. I think this is just a beautiful book. It's a bit difficult to start with. You're kind of like, what the fuck is happening? But once you get into it, it is a super easy read. It's addictive. Like, you just want to find out more constantly. You're like, give me more. I just want to know everyone's interpretations. I'm like, tell me what you thought of it. Because it ended and it like, I was like crying on the bus. But it ended and I was like, it was beautiful. The protagonist has such a unique voice because she has such a unique life. And it's just so interesting. It's so interesting. It just feels like getting to experience someone's life that you would never experience. Like, I would never experience never growing up with men, because I have. Like, I think it just like forces us to be compassionate, and I think it's just nice to like get to experience something that we would never get to experience. I don't know, I'm not really saying the right thing, but I don't know. I just think this is a worthy book to read. This is the first book I read. 5 stars. I highly recommend. Yeah. I'm also going to say I'm super nice with my rating systems. Like, I think every book I read in April is 5 stars. And that's because to me, it's like, how much did a book impact me? How much has a book stayed with me? How much did I enjoy reading it? Also, every book I read this month has a very similar feeling to me. And I do not know how to explain what that feeling is, but that's kind of like the through line of every book I picked this month, is that they all had this feeling of almost like, it's almost like a feeling of melancholy and hopefulness, maybe. I don't know. The next book I read is Kim Jiyoung, born 1982, by Nam-Joo. This is crazy. This book made me very angry and upset. It basically follows the life of Kim Jiyoung, who was born in 1982, because she almost has like a mental breakdown at the beginning of the book, and she starts like almost like impersonating women she knows, but she fully believes that she is that like woman when she's impersonating them. So like she does an impression of her mother, and her husband's like ha ha ha, and then but it's like she genuinely believes she's her mother, and when she wakes up the next day she has no recollection of doing it, like that type of mental breakdown. And then immediately after like hearing that, which is told from her husband's perspective, we then go into like the story of her life, and it's very confronting. I think for me as a woman who did not grow up in Korea or in 1982, it was still very relatable, made me very angry. Like I just think I felt the rage that I think lives in most women because of the way that we have been treated in the society that we grow up in, and the fact, like the rage that we would push down and smother. Like I felt it really come up, and it was quite difficult after reading this to kind of like go about life not angry. And I don't know if what happened in this book still happens now. I would probably believe that it does, if we're being entirely honest, especially because like I do not live in Korea. I don't know the level of like misogyny and sexism that might be taking place in Korea. I don't know what takes place in other countries. Like I only know my life, and so it's very intense to kind of see this and wonder, like, is this what my mum went through? Is this like what my colleagues are going through at work? Like all these questions. And that is why I think it should be compulsory. I think it's just, without being like men are bad. It's not saying that. It's not being like men are bad. It's like the system of patriarchy is bad. The like society that we grow up in is creating these like situations that are not working for anyone, but like especially for women. It's just telling the story of someone's life, and that's why I'm like, I think this would be a great book to be studied. The Sunday Times says a howl of anger. That's how it felt. I just think it's great. 5 stars. Really quick read as well. Like I started this on the 8th of April and I finished it at the 9th. So it's not like a difficult read. But it's beautiful. It's great. It made me angry. After reading those 2 books, I ended up unintentionally going on like a feminist literature deep dive, but I then read these 3 books by Deborah Levy, which are her essay, memoir kind of novels. They are described like a bit like that. Like in one bookstore I went to, it was in the autobiography section, and another bookstore I went to, it was in the English essay section. So take with that what you want. I am not someone who really enjoys reading nonfiction, or I do enjoy it, but I really struggle to do it. Like I have a couple of nonfiction books that I would have started maybe 2 or 3 years ago that I'm still trying to get my way through. These read like fiction. They read like a novel. Deborah Levy has a beautiful style of writing. Like she creates such incredible voices for her characters and her protagonists. And reading this was like an incredible journey. Like I loved these books. I genuinely do think Deborah Levy has become one of my favorite authors of all time. I just love her way of writing. I love the voice that she creates in each novel. So the first part of the trilogy is Things I Don't Want to Know by Deborah Levy. She wrote this as a like almost essay or response to George Orwell's essay Why I Write, but it kind of jumps between her like present day of her writing in Mallorca and her childhood growing up in South Africa during the apartheid. Is that how you say it? I always say it wrong. I keep like talking to my parents about it and they correct me. But anyway, it is beautiful. It is such, like the way she melds the past and the present together is stunning. It's also, again, very confronting to read about like these things that took place not that long ago in history. Also, she when she's writing in the present day, she's very much like feeling lost and kind of struggling to find her purpose again. Like there's this line I really like which says, "There was something comforting about being literally lost when I was lost in every other way." Been there, like feel that. I think I really enjoyed this book because a lot of it made me think and really reflect on my own life. I think that's nice. I think when a book makes you look introspectively, it's very good. You can tell I underline this because I just read Kim Jiyoung, born in 1982, but she talks about, as a female writer, what can you afford to do and what can you not afford to do. She writes, "A female writer cannot afford to feel her life too clearly. If she does, she will write in a rage when she should write calmly." I gave this book 5 stars. The next book in this like trilogy is The Cost of Living. The Cost of Living she writes after she has divorced from the father of her children, and it is such an interesting book. I think just talking about the ways women lose themselves in a marriage or what becomes the priority in their lives, which is like creating a home for their children and for their husband. It's just such a good book. It's really hard to like talk about why I love these books so much because like they are just like, they're just so like, they really like just like punch you in the gut. Like she writes in such a way that is so gripping and like emotionally raw. And again, also is just like, it forces you to be introspective. It forces you to think about the world that you're living in just such a wonderful way. And I have so much respect for her as a writer. And also I think this book's really interesting because it kind of talks on, even if it's not the main point, but it's something that I picked up on, was what you're willing to do to survive, or like what you're willing to give up to survive. In it, she gets to like pitch one of her novels to a like company who want to turn it into a film. And she is very much like, this is how I see it happening. I want to write the script. Like, this is my story. But you can tell that the production company or like production house she's at, who want to create the film, want to make the film marketable and want to sell it, and like their focus is like what will sell and what is right for like what people will consume. And it means that like she has to almost like give up parts of her story that mean so much to her to get it to sell. And she's like, it's like if she was in a like world where she has all the money, she like, do you know what I mean? Like if it's like she is forced to give up things that if she was safe and comfortable, like if she had the money to look after her children, a home, like all this stuff, she would never have to consider giving up. And I think it is really reflective of like, if you are not a billionaire, what do we have to give up of ourselves to be able to afford to live? Like, what is the cost of living? And I think that's like very apparent, very like relatable in today's society. I also think she writes about creating and being a creative in such a wonderful way as well. In here she talks about Louise Burgess. I don't know how to say her name, apologies. But she says, she made art because her emotions were bigger than herself. And then she input a quote that says, we either die of the past or we become an artist. I think why I love this is I see a lot of how I feel in her work, about life, about creating, about all of it. And so it is like very comforting. It's like when I'm like overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I feel the way I feel. And then I read someone else experiencing the same thing. It is very comforting. And it's like having someone like holding your hand almost. I really like this. The last of the 3 is real estate, which is the biggest one. I love this one. She talks about, which I really relate to, and I think anyone in the world who thinks they will never be able to afford a home, but still dreams of a home, will relate to this. In this, she has the continuing image of her unreal estate. So it's like the real estate she hopes one day to own, she dreams about, but she knows that she probably will never own. So it's like unreal estate. So in this book, she is about to turn 60. One of her daughters is already off at university and the other one's about to leave. And so her life is kind of shifting. She kind of talks about how you build a home to raise your children in, like you have a home for your family, and like what happens when the children leave and you have to build a home just for yourself. And this one is just, it's so beautiful. The whole idea of like real estate is because she has like a friend who, or friends that have like investment properties, and they're like, you should invest in real estate. Like that's how you should live. And she's like, the real estate I've invested in are these like things that mean a lot to her. So she's got these like wooden horses that she bought for her children that are actually worth a lot of money, but to her emotionally they're worth so much. So like that's part of her real estate. And at the end, she writes that, like, it makes me want to cry. It's such a beautiful book. I suppose that what I most value are real human relations and imagination. It is possible that we cannot have one without the other. It took me a long time to discard the desire to please those who do not have my best interests at heart and who cannot live warmly with me. I own the books that I have written and bequeath the royalties to my daughters. In this sense, my books are my real estate. They are not private property. There are no fierce dogs or security guards at the gate, and there are no signs forbidding anyone to dive, splash, kiss, fail, feel fury or fear, or be tender or tearful, or fall in love with the wrong person, go mad, become famous, or play on the grass. It's a really good book. I really recommend all three, but if you can only read one, I really recommend this. I think it's so beautiful, and I think as well, like, I think when we're young, we think 60 is such an old age. Like, I remember being like, 60 is like a grandma. My mum is 60 now, and to me, she's so young. And like reading this, the protagonist turns 60, and the life that she lives, like, it's so full of life. Like, she's so full of life. It's like, I think I just find this so beautiful because I'm like, life is literally what you do, like what you make of it. Like, you could turn 60 and be like, I'm old, I'm never going to do anything, like my life's over. Or like you can turn 60 and you can go clubbing in Paris. It's just so good. It's such a good book. 5 stars. 5 stars. The last book I read in the month of April is Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sekegawa. This is beautiful. Oh my God. Again, started it on the 29th of April, finished it on the 30th of April. So not a crazy difficult book to read. It is just so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It follows the protagonist, Sentaro. He works in a dorayaki shop, which is like a pancake filled with sweet bean paste. And he is depressed. Like very depressed. There were a few things that were a bit confrontational where he's like, maybe I should just kill myself. And I was like, whoa. But he works in a dorayaki shop. He's not happy. And one day, Toku, I think that's how you pronounce it, who is an old woman, she is about 70, and she has disfigured hands, asks to work there. And she's like, I want to make sweet bean paste. And he's like, no. Like, he is very, I think it's a really good book because like the characters are very real. Like at the beginning, I do not like Sentaro. I'm like, you are kind of a dick. But you get to see him grow and change. And because it's kind of from his perspective, it's a bit confronting where like you're hearing him be a dick and then you get to watch him love Toku and like really like change. Like he just changes and it is beautiful to watch. And Toku has such a like wonderful outlook on life considering the life she's led, and I'm not gonna spoil it. I think if you were struggling to find a purpose or meaning in the everyday, this is a beautiful book to read. I think it's just stunning how the characters find meaning in life. You know, like sometimes when you read these and it's like the characters are struggling and then they're like, actually, I'm gonna like become a amazing chef and look at me, I'm now an amazing chef. Sometimes that's not satisfying. I really like this because it ends and it's not like my life has worked out, look how amazing it is. It's like I just have hope and like I see the meaning and I know my life is meaningful and I can't wait to change my life. It just feels beautiful because it feels real. It also just kind of feels like a warm hug. Yeah. 5 stars. 5 stars. This month, 5 stars. So yeah, these were my April books. I've really enjoyed talking about these. I don't even know if I've said anything coherent, but I just love books so much. I love reading. I love getting to experience all these lives that I would never experience otherwise. And I love how much these novels have like positively impacted me and like really made me think about my life in such a good way. Like even the confrontational stuff has been really beneficial. So yeah, 5 stars all around. If you read any of these or have read any of these, please let me know. I really want people to read these because I just want to like talk to people about them. Anyway, I hope you all have wonderful days and know that your lives are full of meaning and there is joy in the pain, which is a quote from Sweet Bean Face. Bye.